You've seen it in the Olympics, maybe even practice it yourself, but have you ever wondered about the complex, really surprising story of how Taekwondo actually came to be?
It's a fascinating history. Definitely not as straightforward as people might think.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive. Our mission is to really unpack that journey, from all those different schools and post-war Korea to the unified sport we see now. We'll pull out the key insights from the sources we've looked at.
Giving you a shortcut to really understanding it.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We begin right after Japan's surrender in August 1945. Korea is finally liberated.
After 35 long years of Japanese colonial rule, 1910 to 1945.
And during that time, Korean culture, including traditional martial arts like Taekwondo, was suppressed.
Heavily suppressed. And instead, Japanese arts like Kendo or Kumdo, as it was known in Korea, were introduced even into the army and police.
So liberation wasn't just political freedom. It sounds like it was a cultural explosion waiting to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was this powerful national desire for Koreans to reclaim their identity. It was deep. And martial arts became a really important vehicle for that.
More than just exercise, then.
Oh, much more. It was about national expression, reclaiming something fundamentally Korean after decades of it being pushed down. That drive is key to understanding everything that followed.
Okay, so Korea's liberated. There's this hunger for Korean identity. What happens next on the ground with martial arts? Who starts things off?
Well, almost immediately, you see Korean martial artists setting up their own schools. They call them Kwans.
Kwans.
And many of these founders, they had trained during the occupation, often in Japanese karate, sometimes Chinese kung fu.
So these Kwans, they weren't just like gyms.
No, not at all. Think of them more as cultural hubs, places where Koreans could physically and, spiritually reconnect with their heritage through martial arts. They were teaching techniques, sure, but also instilling a sense of Koreanness.
That makes sense. So this idea of needing a Korean identity explains the push later on for a name like Taekwondo.
Precisely. It was a conscious signal, moving away from the Japanese or Chinese names and influences, staking a claim for something uniquely Korean.
But given that history, how purely Korean could they be right at the start? I mean, many founders trained in Japanese arts. Was it a clean break?
That's a great point. No, it wasn't a clean slate. The styles taught initially, well, they often showed heavy influence from Japanese karate. That was the immediate background for many.
Right.
But, and this is crucial, there was also this simultaneous effort to weave back in traditional Korean elements. Things like Taekyon, Subak, maybe even just the philosophy.
So a real mix.
Real mix. You had founders with karate backgrounds, others with kung fu, some trying to revive older Korean arts.
Yeah.
This diversity, well, it was foundational, but it also created huge challenges later when they tried to unify everything. Different techniques, different philosophies, different lineages, all needing to somehow come together.
That complexity is fascinating. It wasn't just one thing evolving. Okay, let's dig into those first schools, the original 5 Kwans. They pop up right around Liberation, 44 to 46.
That's right. And it's interesting, 2 actually started just before Liberation in 44, Chang Moo Kwan and Chung Do Kwan. But the other 3, Moo Duk Kwan, Do Kwan, Chang Moo Kwan, they were founded right after, 45-46, shows that immediate surge.
Okay, so first up.
Chang Moo Kwan, founded by Roh Byung-jik, March 20, 1944, technically the first.
And his background?
He'd studied karate, Shotokan specifically, under Gichin Funakoshi in Japan. So that karate link is right there from the start. It was also known as Daeng Su Dusong Moo Kwan.
Okay. Then number 2, Chung Do Kwan.
Founded September 1944 by Lee Won-kwak. Now, his background was incredibly diverse.
Oh.
Yeah, he'd studied Taekwondo in Seoul, Shotokan karate in Japan like Roh Byung-jik, but also Kung Fu in China.
Wow. Okay, so bringing in multiple influences.
Definitely. And that maybe contributed to Chung Do Kwan getting known for its powerful kicks. It grew fast, too, partly because it was near the police headquarters, so lots of officers joined.
Right, makes sense. Okay, now post-liberation. Moo Duk Kwan.
Founded November 9, 1945 by Hwang Ki. He initially called his style Hwa Su Do, then changed it to Tan Su, probably for wider recognition.
Feng Su-do.
His background was Taekwondo and also Chinese Kung Fu. And later in the 50s, he discovered the Moye do Botongji, an old Korean martial arts text, and found Subak. So he changed his arts name again to Subak Do in 1960.
So he was actively researching Korean traditions.
Yes. And here's a really key point about Moo Duk Kwan. Between 53 and 60, it became the largest martial arts organization in Korea. Like nearly 75% of all practitioners.
75%. Wow.
Huge. And this is crucial. Moo Duk Kwan under Huang Qi never fully merged into the main Taekwondo unification effort. They kept their Subakda identity separate.
That really challenges the idea of a simple, single unification, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It shows these powerful, distinct lineages persisted.
Okay.
Next is Do Kwan,
Budok Kwan.
founded March 3, 1946, by Chun Sung-soo. His original name for it was Chosun Yunmu Kwan Kong Sudo Club.
Kitchi.
Ah, yeah. He'd also studied Shotokan karate in Japan under Funakoshi.
Another karate connection.
Yes. But there's a tragic side here. Chun Sang-soo disappeared during the Korean War.
Oh, no.
Yeah, presumed abducted in North Korea. And this happened to other founders, too, like Yoon Byung-in from Chang Moo Kwan. Losing key leaders like that during the war, it created these huge vacuums.
So the students had to take over.
Exactly. Students had to step up, adapt, keep things going amidst the chaos. For Do Kwan, after Chun disappeared, the students actually voted to change the name to Do Kwan. And Yu Kuyung became its first president. He trained Chuan Fan, a Chinese martial art, in Manchuria.
Just incredible resilience. Okay, and the fifth original Kwan,
Chang Moo Kwan, founded in 1946, maybe September 1st, by Yoon Byung-in.
the other leader who disappeared.
That's him. His background was Chinese Kung Fu, Kwan Fa, and also Shotokan karate under Kanken Tiyama in Japan. So another blend. The Kwan was first known as the YMCA Kwan Bop Club.
YMCA Kwan Bop Club. Okay.
And early on, Chang Moo Kwan was apparently quite distinct because it leaned heavily on that Chinese Kung Fu base, including something called Palji Kwan. After Yoon disappeared, his top student, Lee Nam-suk, carried things forward.
So these 5 Kwans are established, each with its own unique blend of influences and history. They're building this new Korean martial identity. But then, boom, the Korean War hits, 1950 to 53.
Yeah, devastating conflict. You'd think that would just shatter these young schools.
Right, halt everything. But the sources say, maybe counterintuitively, it actually became a catalyst?
It did, in a way. Paradoxically,
Mm.
a really pivotal moment was in 1952. There was a martial arts demonstration for President Syngman Rhee,
Okay.
and he was apparently so impressed he ordered that all Korean soldiers had to be trained in these arts.
All soldiers. That's massive.
It's huge. Suddenly you had this military mandate. It meant funding, stability, a massive pool of students, and a structured way to spread the training across the country. It basically supercharged the growth and spread of these Kwans, especially after the war.
So the war disrupted things, but the military adoption afterwards really propelled them forward.
Exactly. And that leads to the next phase expansion. In the years after the armistice, former students of the original Kwans start opening their own schools.
So it branches out.
Right. And 4 more major Kwans rise to prominence between about 1954 and 1956. This eventually leads to the Korea Taekwondo Association, the KTA, consolidating things down to what they call the 9 Great Kwans by the 1970s.
The 9 Kwans that form the basis of Kukiwon Taekwondo today.
Those are the ones. Kukiwon being the World Taekwondo headquarters, yeah.
Okay, so who are these next 4 Kwans?
First, Han Moo Kwan, founded August 1954 by Lee Kyo-yoon. He was actually a student of Chun Sang-sup from Do Kwan, or Yeonmu Kwan as it was known earlier. So you see that direct lineage branching off.
Got it. An offshoot.
Then Otong Kwan. This one's really significant. Founded in 1955 by General Choi Hong-hai.
General Choi again. The military connection.
The key military connection. High-ranking officer, he was also honorary head of Chung Do Kwan for a time. Do Kwan was absolutely central in developing and spreading Taekwondo throughout the Korean military.
So standardization starts happening there.
Yes, it played a huge role in early standardization and just getting it out there. And Do Kwan is very closely linked to the ITF style, the International Taekwondo Federation, which General Choi founded later.
Right. And you mentioned General Choi before. Something about April 11th, 1955.
Ah, yes, crucial date. It's often called Taekwondo's birthday.
Why?
Because on that day, there was this important meeting, a conference of Kwan masters. And General Choi was very influential in getting them to officially adopt the name Taekwondo.
And the name itself, Taekwondo.
They chose it partly because it sounded similar to the traditional Korean art Taekyon. It was a way to connect this new, modernizing art back to Korea's deeper martial roots. A very deliberate choice for identity.
That link to Taekyon makes so much sense, grounding it. Okay, so that's Han Moo Kwan and Do Kwan, the next 2.
Chung Do Kwan, founded in 1956 by Park Chul-hee and Hong Jong-kyo. This one branched off from Chang Moo Kwan specifically, Kwan Papu. The founders were students of Yoon Byung-in. Again, you see the lineage.
Okay. And the last of the 9.
Chung Do Kwan, Also founded in 1956 by Lee Young-woo. He was an original student of Chung Do Kwan.
Ah, back to Chung Do Kwan.
Yeah, and apparently the president of Chung Do Kwan at the time advised him to pick a similar name. Hence, Chung Do Kwan instead of Chung Do Kwan. And Chung Do Kwan is noted as the last of these 9 key kwans that form the basis for the Kukkiwon system.
So by, say, 1960, you've gone from these original 5 kwans through the war, military adoption, and now you have maybe upwards of 40 different kwans operating.
Yeah, something like that, which is great, shows popularity, right?
Hey.
But it's also chaos.
A bit of a Wild West.
Pretty much. You've got different techniques, different terminology, different ranking systems, no standardization. It created this real need, this strong push to unify things.
How do you even start to bring 40 schools together?
Well, that's where the Korea Taekwondo Association, the KTA, comes in. You get started in 1959, and guess who's the first president?
Let me guess. General Choi.
Bingo! General Choi Hong Hai. But here's a little wrinkle.
Oh.
Official South Korean government sources often list the founding year as 1961, not 59.
Why is the difference?
Politics, most likely. It's generally seen as an attempt later on to minimize General Choi's role and distance the organization from him after he had major disagreements with the South Korean government.
Fascinating. History being shaped by politics.
Happens all the time. So anyway, the KTA's main goal was clear. Consolidate the kwans, standardize the art, get everyone under one umbrella. Interestingly, it was briefly called the Korea Taekwondo Association in 1961 before changing its name to Korea Taekwondo Association in 1965.
Okay, so the name Taekwondo itself was adopted in 55, but the association officially took the name in 65.
That seems to be the timeline. The 1955 date was the masters agreeing on the name for the art, heavily influenced by Choi. The 1965 date is likely when the governing body officially adopted Taekwondo in its own name. Or perhaps it coincides with Choi publishing his big English book on Taekwondo, which helped solidify the name internationally. It's important to separate the art getting its name from the association adopting it.
Got it. So the KTA forms, the name is solidifying. How does the unification actually proceed?
It was gradual. They worked through the 60s and early 70s to bring those roughly 40 schools together, eventually consolidating them into those recognized 9 major kwans by about 1974. This meant hammering out common rules, standardizing techniques, creating unified grading systems.
A huge undertaking.
Massive. And key steps were building the Kukkiwon, the World Taekwondo headquarters, completed in 1972. That gave it a physical center.
A home base.
Exactly. And in 1973, the KTA established the World Taekwondo Federation, now just World Taekwondo, or WT specifically, to manage Taekwondo internationally and promote it globally.
Those sound like the structures needed to become an international sport.
They were crucial. But the unification wasn't quite as complete as it might sound.
Yeah, we already heard about Moo Duk Kwan staying separate.
Right. They maintained their distinct Subak-do identity and didn't fully join the KT Kukkiwon system.
Were there others?
Well, biggest split came from General Choi himself. After those political disagreements with the South Korean government intensified, he broke away from the KTA.
When was this?
In 1966, he formed his own international organization, the International Taekwondo Federation, the ITF.
So 2 major international bodies emerged.
Exactly. The unification really resulted in the creation of these major branches. Kukkiwon World Taekwondo on one side, largely aligned with South Korea, and the ITF on the other, initially led by General Choi. It shows those deep differences in philosophy, technique, maybe even politics were never fully resolved.
So unification is maybe too simple a word. It was more like a consolidation with significant exceptions.
That's a good way to put it. Complex process, ultimately incomplete, leaving us with multiple major Taekwondo organizations today. History's rarely neat.
Okay, let's recap this incredible journey. We started right after Korea's liberation in 1945 with this powerful drive to reclaim Korean identity through martial arts.
Which led to the founding of the original 5 kwans between 44 and 46, Chang Moo Kwan, Chung Do Kwan, Moo Duk Kwan, Do Kwan, and Chang Moo Kwan, each with its own unique mix of influences.
Then came the Korean War, which, paradoxically, through the military's adoption of the art, spurred massive growth.
Right, leading to the expansion with schools like Hanmu Kwan, Odo Kwan, Kang Do Kwan, and Chung Do Kwan emerging by 1956, bringing us to the 9 kwans.
A key moment was officially adopting the name Taekwondo in 1955, connecting it to Korean roots.
Followed by the KTA forming, 59 or 61 depending on who you ask, aiming to standardize and unify this diverse landscape.
And throughout all this, the Kwans weren't just schools, they were really vital cultural centers, weren't they?
Absolutely. preserving, adapting, developing Korean martial arts during a really critical time of national re-identity. Their individual histories, their founders, the different techniques and philosophies, all of that shaped what Taekwondo is today.
And that legacy persists, right? Even with the KTA and Kukyuan aiming for unification.
It does. Many of the original Kwans still exist as distinct groups in Korea, even if they follow the Kukyuan WT style now. And you'll find many Kwan leaders, the Kwan Jangnim, holding senior positions within Kukyuan and World Taekwondo.
So the unification didn't erase the history.
Not entirely. It created this complex structure where that historical diversity still exists, kind of nested within the larger, seemingly unified framework.
So despite the political splits, like with the ITF and the internal complexities, those unification efforts under the KTA were crucial for taking Taekwondo global.
Definitely. That standardization, common rules, techniques, grading, created the foundation needed for it to spread internationally, to become this recognized combat sport, get into the Olympics eventually.
It's quite a story, from those post-war Kwans to the Olympic podium.
It really is. And, Taekwondo's journey, in a way, it mirrors South Korea's own post-war story reconstruction, rapid development, becoming a global player. It's become this powerful symbol of Korean identity, resilience, athletic skill on the world stage.
A form of cultural diplomacy, almost.
Yeah, soft power. It's amazing how a martial art can embody so much national history and identity. The whole tangled history is just a testament to resilience, cultural reassertion, and how tradition, innovation, and politics all weave together.
Which leaves us with a thought for you, the listener. What stands out to you about how a martial art born from such complex roots can come to represent so much about a nation's journey and identity on the global stage?